The movie opens on a shot of a hospital room where we see Stella Grant, a cystic fibrosis patient, recording herself while being hooked up to an oxygen tank. She has been in and out of the hospital her whole life, and has become very routine-oriented and strict about her treatment. And she actively uses social media to cope with her illness and try to live a normal life. As Stella explored the hospital, she stumbled upon another cystic fibrosis patient named Will Newman, and while they were talking, Nurse Barbara enters the room and reminds them that they should maintain a distance of 6 feet apart, to reduce the risk of cross-infection, as contracting bacterial infection from another CF patient can be life-threatening. And the nurse had warned Stella to stay away from Will. Will finds Stella vlog on YouTube, in which Stella discusses living with CF. Will is intrigued and watches every single video she posted. Stella then started video calling her best friend Poe, who is also a CF patient and is openly gay. He tells her that he broke up with his new boyfriend. Will then was also warned by his doctor to not go close to any of the CF patient, as it will increase the risk of cross-infection. In the next scene we see Stella walking towards Will's room, because she notices that he isn't strictly following to his treatment regimen, after she offers to let him draw her. In exchange, Will following his treatment regimen, in which Will agrees to. Much of their interaction is mediated through video chat. Most of the time they would do their medication together through video chat. Will then saw Stella's sister Abby in a YouTube video from a year ago, and wondered why Stella hadn't mentioned her sister in any of her YouTube video for the past year. When Stella was in the room alone, Will entered, and he mentioned about Abby's death, which enraged Stella and prompted her to storm out of the room. He soon realized his thoughtless mistake and went to apologize to Stella. He asked for her forgiveness, and she, still visibly upset, revealed to him that her tube had become infected, and the doctor had scheduled a replacement procedure for the following morning. The next morning Will visited Stella before her surgery, and began singing a sentimental song that Abby used to sing to Stella before she passed away, a heartfelt gesture that brought back fond memories and touched Stella's heart. Will and Stella went on their first date, but keep it a secret as the nurses wouldn't approve. They resolved to follow the 6-foot rule by grasping the opposite of a pole. They found a way to be close while maintaining a safe distance. They eventually end up at the hospital pool, where they strip to reveal their scars from their past surgeries. Halfway through their date, Nurse Barbara notices that both Will and Stella aren't in their room. She immediately goes on a search to find them. Poe then texted Stella that the nurse was searching for them, and they quickly make it back to their rooms in time. Stella came up with a scavenger hunt for Will's birthday, which catches him by surprise. It leads to Will meeting up with Stella, who leads him into a room filled with all her and his friends. They had a huge feast that was made by Poe and shared a lot of laughs. Meanwhile, the nurses are catching on to Will's and Stella's relationship and make the decision to transfer Will to another hospital in hopes of protecting both of them. As they were about to submit the transfer note, they got an alert from Poe's room. The nurses rush in to find him out cold on his room's floor. A few more nurses enters the room. One gives him CPR in hope that Poe will survive, but he never wakes up. Stella and Will are quick to find out what happened. Stella is in tears. Poe was her best friend and she never got to hug him. Devastated by Poe's death, Will and Stella went out to see the lights. Stella grabs Will's hand, which she justifies because she has gloves on. They came across a pond and slides around on the frozen surface. Meanwhile, the hospital is notified that after years of waiting, a lung transplant is available for Stella. She receives a bunch of texts asking where she is, but she ignores them to be with Will. Stella sits of a bridge but then falls off while Will is distracted. She fell through the ice and Will pulls her out of the water. The shock of the cold water has made Stella unresponsive, and puts her into cardiac arrest. Ignoring the risk of infection, Will performs CPR. They were both rushed into the hospital. When Stella wakes up from her surgery, she sees Will through the glass of her room. He tells her that he only has a month to live, and he doesn't want her to have to go through his death, like all the other deaths she went through. He tells her goodbye and doesn't know what is to come in terms of him and her. Before he goes, he makes her close her eyes, because he said that he wouldn't be able to leave as she was looking at him. She closes her eyes and then he walks away.